We're live, another podcast, The Process, and we're here with the George Milner.
What's happening, my people? We're back.
Yeah.
We've got a guest again today.
I know. Welcome, Nero. Welcome.
Thank you both for having me.
Awesome. How you feeling, man?
It's been a good day. It's been a bit tiring operating this morning, but you know what? Now it's going to be a lovely evening, hang out with you guys
Love the
on this
positivity.
podcast.
Wow, I love that. Super positive. Nice and punchy.
You told me, rock up here today, make
Yes.
sure you've got the positive vibe going on.
Ooh, did I say that?
So the problem
Did
is,
I actually say that?
I didn't realise that looking like a tramp wasn't part of the equation. So
Yeah.
having been operating, I'm a little bit underdressed compared to both,
That's
both
okay.
you gents here, but
That's okay.
hopefully I can make up for
Hey,
it
as
with
long as
some
you know what
content.
happened today and how you contributed, that's all that matters.
That's
right
all
now.
that matters.
I think it makes up for coming in with the positivity. Positivity only in these walls. So
Yes.
you've made up for... The shirt isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Is he go boss?
You look...
Yeah.
That's not
Look,
trend.
hey,
Okay, fine.
hey, look, blue suits you, man. Looks good.
Good.
I kind of like the vibe right now. All right, cool. So, guys, I just wanted to introduce you to Nero. Pretty funny story, actually. How did we meet?
At Wollongong Private Hospital when I was looking at opening Ignite MediSpa a few years ago.
Yeah.
And one of our mutual friends, Mick, introduced us.
Love it.
And
Yes.
I think you were consulting, doing one of your podiatry
Yes.
surgeries that afternoon.
How'd you see me, man? How'd you envision me?
You,
at that
you,
time? What,
you
4
were,
years ago, probably?
you were shy,
Nice.
and you were a man of fewer words than you are
Look at his
today.
reaction. Camera's zooming in.
Shy,
This
and
guy.
a man of few words. He was just very polite and smiling.
Wow.
It's almost chalk and cheese to whom you are today.
That is crazy.
But you've done really well over the last 4 years in terms of your own journey, which
Yeah.
I've watched almost like a big brother.
Yeah.
And all of
Yeah.
your successes and accolades.
No, thank you. I think, you know what's actually funny? That's probably the most change I've ever been in my whole life. You know, I went through university and I failed. I failed subjects, man. You know, I got pulled back years. That's me.
I thought
Right.
you told me you were doing that just to make everyone feel comfortable around you.
It was probably the other way around. Me going backwards was making me feel comfortable. But nah, and so it was a very different environment for me. And just knowing that when I'm a sponge, dude, when I'm a sponge, I don't even notice how much of a sponge I'm being, that I become a different person, right? Like I've got all these different, I'm so diverse, I've got all these different characters. I'll give you an example. 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago, I was a different person having a meeting compared to now,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm just so, I don't know, I feel different. So I think that's the side you saw, which was cool. And hey, we all go through that, by the way. So George, for example, he's going through new ventures. And he's even told me many times, hey, you know, I'm adapting and I feel even better now, etc. So it's crazy.
Well, they say you have to be able to adapt to excel in life, so
Yes.
I
You
agree.
have to be able to adapt.
most certainly.
I think, but on top of that, I think who can handle pressure well, and this may be innate, or this may be through their childhood or experienced. There's two avenues you can come from here. Who can handle pressure well are the ones that are actually able to adapt. So if we need to go a little bit deeper, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. Because obviously if you can't adapt, you can't handle pressure, and that's where you stay exactly the same.
Beautiful. You get
Obviously,
uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
You stop trying, or an excuse starts.
Yeah, you become complacent, and
Yes.
complacent obviously just means you're stagnant, you're dead in the water, you're not moving forward. Obviously, if you're not adapting, you're not moving forward. If you're not moving forward, you're stuck in the mud.
Dude, and you get depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think, Nero, this is a question for you. Do you think when you're not moving forward, you get depression because you're not pursuing anything? You've obviously pursued, we'll obviously talk about your story, a little bit about your background and where you are now, but going off what you've told me and how you got there, you've had to pursue a lot of things very
Yes.
diligently. So do you think that being complacent that's a trap?
I think you could argue and say complacency is potentially always or something that leads to stagnation.
Yeah.
But it also, I would suggest, depends on where you are in life. Because there are certain times in life where a bit of complacency or slowing down may not be a bad thing. For example, if you've just had a child,
Sure.
And there are times you just want to slow down, smell the roses, as they say.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. But just as an extension to what Sanjay was saying earlier on about the importance of evolving and adapting, I think the key thing here is having self-awareness, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses so that you can play the cards to optimize your position. It's certainly in terms of adaptation as well. And also, trying and then failing is a good thing, providing you learn from it. I think there's sometimes, although it's changing, of course, I think some people feel that if they were to try something, business ventures are a good example, and if they weren't to succeed, then they're failures. But I would suggest that they're not. They've become enriched inevitably during the journey. Of course, when you take with one hand, you give up with another, but providing they've learned some key life lessons there, you're all the better for it. Because, you know, when I see my patients, I always tell them that change and disappointment are the two constants in life, and of course death and taxes as well are guarantees. But I think certainly the older I've become, the more patient I am and the more forgiving I am, which sometimes I think when you're very driven, especially when you're young, you sometimes it's possible to have blind spots about people's struggles. And I think it's so true when they say never judge a man until you've walked in his shoes, because that, as Sanjay said, about something being innate or being something you've learnt, whether through parental guidance, discipline, whatever it may be, I think there's a lot that different people experience during their journey, and it's very important to be cognizant of that.
Do you also think that our will to win and our will to drive forward is bred out at a certain age? Because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they used the example of a child learning how to walk. And so they stand up, they fall over. They stand up, they fall over. They stand up, they wobble, and then they fall over. But they never give up on trying to stand up and walk. So do you think that will to win and that drive to pursue and that like you said, that innate want to achieve things is bred out of some, not out of everyone, out of some people as they get older, or spoken down on to achieve, or just people telling them that complacency is a good place to be? Do you think that's environmental factors?
What if I were to suggest that maybe they're using that energy in a different way? That could also be going on. So just because we don't see them pushing boundaries in a certain way, it doesn't mean that they're not doing something else constructive or something else that's pushing themselves forward.
Pushing their partner's boundaries.
It could also be supporting
these guys
kids.
who get addicted, dude, pushing their partner's boundaries happens all the time. See it all the time. That's where the energy goes. When you think about it, they waste energy. These guys waste energy, and they don't even see where it's coming from, or their mind's stuck on it, which is insane. So it answers the question, right? Like, I think we all have energy to give, but some people just get stuck in this rut in their mind. I was actually talking about this today. It's pretty interesting, actually. I put a story up on my stories, and I was sitting in the sauna, and I was having a conversation yesterday and the day before, and I was like, dude, consistency is so rare. I was gonna swear, but it's so rare these days. Being consistent, rocking up every day, and knowing that pathway will be okay, right? People get discouraged so quickly, and all I'm putting it down to is not our environment, not what we see or hear or what we eat. It's literally two things in your brain, dopamine and serotonin, right? And if you look at dopamine, it drives you. You're like, the target's over there. When I get this, is gonna feel good. That's when dopamine's firing. You're an animal. You don't lose concentration.
Do you know what I said to somebody the other day? I said, winning creates dopamine, and dopamine creates more winning.
Yes.
There's the easier.
It's so true.
And in all honesty, no matter where you are, what you do, what your background is, who doesn't love the feeling of winning? Whether it's a game, whether it's business, whether it's life,
winning someone's heart,
fitness,
winning someone's heart,
relationships, personal. Winning in general, like moving forward past achieving anything, winning it's contagious, and it's because of obviously dopamine.
And if you surround yourself with people with that mindset, I think it positively reinforces even more. And it's something I see with Sanjay all the time. He's always, punching and jumping around and wanting to push further and harder.
I think, but the thing, and let's now peel it back one more layer from dopamine, right? It drives you. Right, but what resets dopamine, right? There has to be some sort of serotonin. Dopamine can't keep firing forever. It's really short acting. right? What's longer acting is serotonin. But how is serotonin... Well, let me just say this. Serotonin is lacking in people's brains. So however you want to increase your serotonin, go look it up, Google, right? And just understand how to increase your serotonin. But once you can understand, if you can stop, smell the roses frequently, right? Like you said, smell those roses. It allows you to be present and you feel worthy, right? And you're like, wow, look how far I've come. The ability to be awake and aware, that's where serotonin sparks. As soon as you have that, you get a whole rush of dopamine. You're ready to go for another short period, you know. So one of you guys was saying that, you know, every so often it's good to smell the roses. Dude, I smell the roses every weekend. I'm telling you right now. Every single weekend.
Is that an analogy for something?
I smell the roses.
Where is he taking this conversation?
Yeah, exactly.
I was in the botanical
Glad
gardens.
you picked up on that.
No, I was in the botanical gardens on the weekend. Look at my story. And I'm like, these roses smell so good.
Oh, so you literally were smelling roses.
I was smelling roses, dude, on the weekend. And I'm like, I never realized the beauty of how something so natural could smell insane, right? Naturally, in its absolute and it's cleansed this smell.
But isn't it funny how that such a small thing can trigger such an emotional response within you?
Right.
Such a small thing that a 27 or an adult man wouldn't usually do, but you're like, wow, this is actually intriguing the way this is such a weird little thing.
Yeah.
Making
And I'm charging all the time and I'm loving the roses. I'm like, wow, I'm posting it on.
You know, speaking of smells, I always try and associate a holiday with a certain fragrance.
Oh,
interesting.
Because, you know, they say smell is one of the most powerful and one of the most ancient, you know, things that we have. And it evokes such a powerful thing. So I always make sure that a landmark journey or holiday is accompanied by a landmark new fragrance, because it takes me back to that time.
Oh, I love that. Look, I'm a big hit for fragrances.
Do you have a scratch and sniff book for all your with the holiday?
When he goes to the lottery place, he gets a scratch and sniff. Goes, I'm going on a holiday.
Hey, but I've actually read studies about how it can change the productivity in workspaces by having them scented to a certain fragrance that elicits sort of positive energy, focus,
so
mental clarity.
Clinic, I pump in a fragrance which is on rotation every 3 months.
Yes.
And the first thing that everyone says when they walk in, wow, this smells different. And you know, if you go to the Marriott or the Sofitel, they all have signature scents.
Of course,
And it again makes people feel comfortable. It makes them feel uplifted, and it makes them feel as though they're in a familiar space. I'm back home away from home.
I love that,
so
man.
I think, you know, but the scent or fragrances, it's such a powerful thing.
Look, I've got a weird thing I have to tell you guys. Right, I've got some fragrances in my collection
that you swim in every morning before you come to the clinic.
And if I spray it, there's one, I swear, I'd spray it and I'd be like, no one's gonna fuck with me today. Every single morning. I was like, no one's gonna fuck with me, right? That's how powerful this
Are you gonna
smell.
tell us what this scent is?
Yeah, it's Creed. It's Creed.
Which one?
Okay, I was using Aventus, right? And then I switched to Viking, and it's so much more manly. And I loved it at the start. It's grown old to me now.
Are we doing a plug for Creed at the moment?
No, definitely
Only
not.
because Silver Mountain Water and Green Irish Tweed.
Love Silver Mountain as well.
Yeah.
I got the samples for them. I didn't get the actual bottle. But I'm going back to the Aventus. It's happening.
Yeah.
I've saved up all my pennies for this one bottle.
George, do you have a particular scent that makes you go, yep, no one's going to F with me today?
So I like my Dior Sauvage.
Yep.
Okay. But Giorgio Armani, the Code. So that was my first clone when I was younger, and it brings back so many good Look, here we go, talking about sense. Yeah. And that was a great period in my life where I was sort of transitioning between different sports, and it reminds me of sporting days. It's funny when I smell it, it jogs all these strange memories.
See, for me, my first scent would have been, it's going to be a reflection of my age as well, but Polo Sport by Ralph Lauren. And then Curve by Liz Claiborne, Acqua di Gio.
Okay. But they're a different era, compared to me.
Completely different era.
There's a few Tom Fords that have that make me think business.
Yes.
Like Oud de Mineral by Tom Ford just makes me think you're putting on a suit.
Oud is brilliant.
Oud, I think I've got Oud. A something Oud.
They've got a few Ouds going on there.
I think I've got Oud Wood or Wood.
Oud Wood is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the one I have.
Nice.
Yeah, I only spray it every so often.
So I think it's fair to say that all of us enjoy nice scents.
Dude, I love scents. It's my thing.
And earlier we were talking about nice cars as well.
Yes.
Sanjay's certainly a maestro when it comes to nice cars.
Yeah, I love cars. Everyone knows I love cars. I'm only young, by the way, so I really try
But it's good, it's driving you to keep smashing goals.
Yeah. Well, I've got a pretty crazy goal this year. I really do. And I don't know if I'll get it because it's so rare now. That's the main thing.
What did you have in mind?
I feel like I know what it is.
Go, fire.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, I want to get a 12-cylinder. So any 12-cylinder car.
Yeah.
Right. If I could have a 12-cylinder, I'll tell you guys now. Here first. If you get your hands on a 12-cylinder, it's only going up in value.
Yep.
There's nowhere else where it's going. Right. It's not going to devalue. It doesn't matter what price you buy it at now. So if you get your hands on a 12-cylinder, you're doing all right.
Nero, do you have any 12 cylinders? I know that we were speaking right before we jumped on.
In my collection, I don't.
No, oh man, I'd love
collection.
to. Yeah. What do you got, man? What do you got? I don't even know.
You know, I tend to keep these things quiet.
Yeah. You don't like to say what cars you have?
You know, even my social media profile, I'm very low key. It's just me giving lectures.
Hey, well, let's just say
I'm boring.
But
this is a reflection
why?
of my age, Sanjay.
Right. That's why. Let's be young, man. Come on.
okay. So
I've got to hang out with you guys more.
Yeah.
let's rephrase it. What is your favorite car?
Yeah.
I don't think that I do have such a thing.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
It's very much mood dependent.
Have you got a 10-cylinder?
No, I don't.
Have you got a red car?
I do, yes.
What about a black one? Have you got a black
do.
one?
I have a black one as well.
You got a black and red one?
And red.
Jeez, you must be going
and,
fast.
And green.
And green?
And white.
Okay, hit some brands off for us, bro.
And blue.
Hit some makes off. What do you got?
I think, I'm a bit of a fan with Porsche.
Oh, you are too?
I am.
I want to ask one question. This is an interesting question for all car buffs out there. I've never understood why people like Porsche.
Oh, you can't say that word.
I can tell you now.
You're about to get the lecture. Here we go. 1 hour from now. This is the reason why.
Jumping in a Ferrari is an event. It feels special.
It does.
However, it's temperamental. The Porsche badge, I would argue, is the best German badge there.
Yeah.
But moreover, in terms of driving it hard,
Yeah.
and then driving home as though nothing happened, absolutely brilliant. Dynamically, they make the best automobiles.
Right, so you're saying as an all-rounder,
As an
great
all-rounder, yeah.
I understand. That makes sense.
No, I've had a bunch of M cars and everything,
Yeah.
but BMW have totally lost me just with problems with those vehicles. You buy their top of the range, and I've had so many issues, and a lot of my friends have.
Yeah.
Even if you look at reliability, I think the JD Power survey put Porsche at number 2.
Yeah, what's number
second
1?
to possibly Toyota or Lexus.
Wow, really?
That's crazy. That blows my mind.
For the last few years, whereas Mercedes and BMW, which would be also premium German brands, are way lower. I think around 15 or 16.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I've had another Mercedes and I loved it and never had any problems with it as well. I've had a really good experience.
Wasn't that
AMG,
GUAP? GUAP?
Yeah, C63. Someone blew my mind actually. They said it was like 4 years ago today, and I'm like, no, it couldn't have been 4 years ago. It was 4 years ago I had that car, so it feels like yesterday. I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, that's my goal this year.
So you've got a love for white cars. Why white?
It's crisp, right? It's crisp. It creates a vibe in my mind.
See,
Yeah.
I'm completely opposite.
No, it creates
black, all black,
Really?
murdered out, black on black
Yeah.
on black on black on black, everything black.
Ah, really? No,
Yeah.
it's brighter for me. White's a bright color. It's a positive color. It's reflective. That's why I love white.
Black is a pain to keep clean.
It's
That's the only
Is it?
downside.
my wild track's black.
Yeah.
I washed it on Saturday. It's filthy now.
Yeah.
It's,
I didn't know it
it's
was
an
a
absolute,
pain.
absolute
But black
punish.
is more of a pain than white to keep
I
clean.
didn't know
Oh,
that.
10 times worse.
Really?
My
Yeah.
Jeep was white. It didn't get anywhere near as dirty as this.
Wow, I didn't
Yeah.
even realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I love white cars. If I get another supercar, I would go in exotic color. That's me as well. I love exotic. I love. I don't know what it is with my brain. I feel great when I exert. Whether it's energy, whether it's knowledge, whether it's anything, I feel amazing when I exert. It feels like I'm releasing the inside of myself out.
I like the concept of that because if you're getting a supercar, of course it's going to stand out, whether it's white, black, red.
Yeah.
But if you have it in that's a unique color,
Yes.
it makes it pop even
Really
more.
pop,
Like when you see a Lambo and it's
Yeah.
just a strange color,
Yeah.
you're like, wow, like.
But I want to say this, right? You have to be careful. You have to be very careful as a human or as a mind, as a being. I'll tell you why. When you keep exerting out, right, you can quickly change your serotonin, like the way serotonin spiked. Remember what I said is based off other people's recognition, right? So say you were being exuberant, say you're getting noticed. The only thing that will make you feel good and validated then will be other people's reactions. It's so important, right? That's what actually crumbles a lot of people, right? So they say it's easy to get to the top, but hard to stay at the top. And that's one of the major factors I find anyway. And that's why I'm so aware of it, you know? So whatever practice or whatever brings you back to you, the pure you, that's why it's so important for me to do what I do.
As a philosophical question, do you think it's good to be able to be satisfied or satiated from your own achievements without worrying about what others are perhaps thinking or going, wow, I wish I could be like him, or something?
So what was the question? Do you think
do you think inner satisfaction and self-contentment is a more powerful thing than relying on validation?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I think as you get older, that starts to become more recognized by yourself, but also that comes with what you were saying before about having self-awareness, and really being aware of where your gratification is coming from.
But let me say this, right? It just shows if you're creating a separation and which element you're living in, right? They say your outer self, your inner self, right? And when you start to jump in or the outer self starts to drive you, that's when you start to become emotional, right?
Yes.
Because you've got no innate, there's nothing innate driving you anymore, right? It's so superficial. And superficial is so over quoted these days. Oh, you're just being superficial. But no one knows what it means. Think about it, right? It's either the outer self or the inner self. If you're driving from your inner self, it's so much more long lasting, you're enriching what's going to last on forever. Does that make sense? Compared to if you're starting to enrich what's not going to last forever, you end up empty. I heard an amazing quote. I want to share this with you guys. I think I said it in one of the podcasts already. I'm not sure. And it's, you'd rather live an imperfect destiny rather than a perfect copy of someone, right? Or a perfect reflection. Because think about this.
Yeah, we spoke about this because we spoke about how easy it is to be a genuine person.
Yes.
And just how easy it is to be your authentic self.
Yes.
And how hard it is to actually try and be someone else for something that you obviously don't want.
Yeah. Right. So once you start to, because if you get right to the end, think about this. You get right to the end and you go, that person's already dead and I just wanted to be like them the whole time. And what was the point of that? That's what you almost think.
Yeah.
What was the whole point of that? Right? Because it'll all just be like go to nothing. You'll be like, well, it happens anyway. Right? So that's why I think for me, that's the element I'm trying to really live in all the time.
Do you think there are cultural variations? So, for example, in America, irrespective of one's background or education level or whatever, people say, well done, lift me up, show me how to be a winner.
Yes.
Some other cultures, it's a case of, I hope you fail and I hope you get lots of bad luck.
Yes.
Do you think that has a modulating effect on an individual?
I think mindset-wise, though. So the ones that live in this negative or pull-down culture, they're actually, that's all they've seen.
Yeah.
Right? So let me tell you this. They're the ones that will believe that will affect them. Think about what I'm saying here. They are the ones that are grown up like that, will believe if someone looks down upon them, it will impact them as a person. Dude, the only person that's controlling you is you.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter what anyone's saying to you or what anyone's thinking about you or what you think they're thinking about you. The whole world could be against you, but you're still driving you.
Yes.
Right? There's been many people there and it could even push them in a negative way. They don't care about the world. They just keep doing what they want to do. Right, so as long as, that's what I'm saying, as long as you can stay pure and understand.
Without harming someone else.
Yeah, right?
That's important.
You don't have to let anyone, you can get all the bad wishes you want, right? You can get all the negative attention that you want, or you can have all the pressure that you want. But is it really affecting you, you know?
Yep.
And that's why I really practice pressure situations. I want to ask you a question. This week was weird for me. That was a crazy intro, by the way, guys. Nero's a cosmetic surgeon, so...
I was just about to say... I think
we haven't done any introductions yet, have we?
Yeah, cosmetic surgeon. So he applies medical backgrounds for superficial problems. Think about this. There's a massive headwind that comes in. Someone comes in for mainly a superficial need, right? A superficial need or want, right? And then you have to attack it from a medical perspective and tell them what may be right or what may be wrong. Think about the interaction this is compared to, say, me and George, where dude, no one wants to come to you for their foot problems. That's a cosmetic issue. Very rarely, right?
Even so, we refer on to surgeons,
right? Like they don't want to be there. They don't want to. When they come to us, they don't want to be there. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Where
they're coming to us because they have an actual issue that needs to be solved.
And they would hate to spend money on that. They're like, far out, I'm here and now it's this. Like, it's a very different environment. So it's very highly educational based. That's our perspective anyway. I don't know the ins and outs. From a cosmetic perspective, right, where you have to give them advice to someone superficial AF, dude, tell us about it.
Okay, well, maybe if I were to give you my journey as well, I can explore what makes someone better at doing a more honest job when you have these patients. So I went to medical school in the 90s in the UK.
Yeah.
I trained across surgical disciplines, primarily burns and plastic surgery.
Yeah.
I trained in the US and in France and all around Australia, and I've practiced around the world. And I've done charitable work for the poor, mainly reconstructive surgery in Asia. Now, what I like about the cosmetic industry or cosmetic practice is obviously it's elective. By and large, you're dealing with well people. Now, of course, there is satisfaction in dealing with people with ailments as well. But here's the
so true.
Here's
such
the
a head
spin.
spinner.
Yeah,
these people have ailments that come in. That's the best way to say it for us. Anyway.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's their choice to be there. They've made a decision to come and see you.
Yeah. Compared to when they see us.
Whereas it's no choice when they come and see us.
Although,
if they've got a problem, they need anyone to fix it.
You'd be surprised the impact of one's appearance on their self-esteem and their function in society can be very dramatic.
Oh, of course. I've seen that from the being heavily invested into the gym scene.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And we've got the concept of ageism, as we know, and we know that as people get older, the workforce sometimes sees them as invisible. And I've given lectures on this, and even other things such as, for example, if a prettier lady were to get stopped by the cops, it's been shown that they tend to get off or get away with bigger things than someone who's not as aesthetically blessed, shall we say.
Yes.
So we certainly know, and when you look at someone within milliseconds, we've decided, do we like them, can we trust them, and so on. It's almost hardwired in. So if we can improve the way someone feels, the way they look, if they look more rejuvenated, and then as a result they function more positively, I think society wins as a whole.
Yes.
But herein lies the big problem. You're now dealing with well people, and this is where the ethical conduct of the cosmetic practitioner, especially the cosmetic surgeon, is key. And cosmetic surgery is something that straddles multiple disciplines, from plastic surgery to gynecology, general surgery, and so on. It's top to toe. And really what we need to try and do is to understand the person in front of us. And I always tell them, my role today is to not just educate you, but it's to get into your mind and understand what can be achieved that's going to make you happy, that's going to be achievable within your budget, and other constraints such as downtime. And from that perspective, it's actually a lot more, it's a lot trickier. And of course, you've got the litigious aspect as well. And I do a little bit of medical legal work, and that's significant.
Out of all of that, what's the most superficial thing you've ever seen?
Oof, gosh, that is a very interesting question. Can I have a think over the next few minutes and answer that?
Ask your second question.
Go on.
What's the most non-superficial thing you've ever seen? It doesn't even change anything, and someone wants it done.
Ooh, okay. So that one, well, one of my niche offerings is male enhancement surgeries.
Yes.
And of course,
interesting.
That is not something that's on display. Number one. Number two, there is a lot more than the physical component. There's that whole psychosexual or psychosocial component here as well. So you could argue that that's probably not going to have much of a bearing, but you'd be surprised it can do. Wow. And in fact, sometimes the partner can be very nasty and vicious and use that as a way of breaking someone as well.
Wow. So that is crazy. These guys would just go out after seeing you and they'd be like, you don't know what's in my package. And they're walking around full of confidence. You're like, dude, why is that guy so confident? Right, and all these things about how big his package is now.
They've been using Creed Aventus. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, you don't need to go see Nero. You just spray that on and
Sanjay,
It is another level. I'm telling you now. You're on a vibe the whole time.
There was some other guy I know, by the way, George, he uses Creed Aventus, but he kept saying that he was worried about having 3 legs and needed the leg chopped off.
I heard about that.
That's how good it makes you feel, honestly. Like, you're Superman with Creed Aventus. Superficial thing.
You're name dropping quite heavily here. Are we going to ask Creed for some sponsorship, by the way?
Hopefully,
you never know.
Send us 3 free bottles of that,
okay,
please.
done.
Yes, done. Tell me. It's the most superficial thing. I'm really keen to know. I want to know what's out there. Look. I want to be honest. I want to just know from a mind perspective, a mind twisting perspective. How bad? Look, I don't want to make it superficial for the conversation. I just want to ask, how bad can someone's mind actually get? Or not even bad, how twisted can it get? Right?
Some people can become very obsessed with something that's virtually imperceptible.
Yeah.
And I've had some extremely stunning women come and see me.
Yeah.
And I've actually told them, you're naturally very beautiful, you've got a lot to offer, not just in terms of appearance, but in terms of substance and in terms of your interaction with society. And I've actually told them, go home, save your money, put it towards a trip to Bora Bora, or put it towards a car or savings or whatever it is. And I do take pride in actually telling people, you don't need anything.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this is where patients need to feel confident and comfortable with their practitioner.
Yeah.
Whether the practitioner is acting in their best interest.
What's an example though?
Just being able to say no. I don't think you need something.
What's the most superficial thing? I'm saying, well, like, what do they come in for? Like, what's been so superficial? Like, wow, this doesn't even make sense.
Perhaps a drop of Botox to correct a minor wrinkle that is only perceptible upon extreme expression.
Really?
Nero, I want to ask you a question.
Wow.
But you could use it in a preventative fashion
for sure.
So this is where education is key.
Oh yeah, true.
And where you can, you counsel them and equip them with the knowledge, so that if they were to go somewhere else, they're then not told, well, actually, you need Botox in 10 places instead.
Sure.
I get you.
We're big on that here as well. Education is a massive thing for us. So we're giving them the power for when things were if they were to come back, if they could have issues again, they sort of know how to deal with it or self-manage themselves or the process it takes to just get back to normal. Education is huge.
It's everything.
I want to ask you a question though. Have you seen a shift in the procedures that you predominantly do since the implementation or the mass use of social media?
Great.
Because when I was, let's for example, when I was 18 to now I'm 29.
Wow.
There's been 11 years in between there. Social media Instagram wasn't even around. I think it just started when I was maybe 17, 18.
Yeah.
But obviously now it's a huge platform that people have monetized and revolved their whole life around. And superficially, that's one of the biggest things about it is because it's visual. It's purely a visual thing.
Yeah.
So has that shifted a lot of your work from, let's just say, revolving around certain procedures to now a new era of procedures?
That's a really, really good question. I would suggest 2 things. Number one, sticking with what you intimated, being such a visual platform, it could show someone what could be achieved. So, for example, someone who's lost a huge amount of weight, say 40, 50 kilos, doing a transformative body lift can show them what can be achieved and so on. Equally, there are multiple examples where social media has driven ridiculous trends, stupid fads, things like lip flips, which don't really last.
What's a lip flip?
Where you give a little bit of anti-wrinkle injections. And by the way, I used the term Botox colloquially earlier on. Botox is a brand, and whilst it's used colloquially, certainly in some jurisdictions like Australia, we should be saying wrinkle relaxers or anti-wrinkle injections. But lip flip is where the anti-wrinkle injection is given to the muscle above the upper lip to allow a little bit of the upper lip to almost sag internally and have more show.
Wow.
And there are all sorts of things like that which are oversold. There is a trend right now to pump women's jawlines with large amounts of heavy filler. I don't think that's particularly attractive, and actually it's just a source of recurring income for the practitioner who's doing it. When rather than giving a more youthful and softer and more a lighter appearance to the lower half of the face, they're actually adding more weight. And actually one of the trends that's been going on for the last 2-3 years is almost that pansexual appearance where men and women almost look very similar with some of the interventions that are being done.
Wow.
I'm personally not won over by
like
that.
a mustache on a woman.
There's always laser hair removal for that, Sanjay. But yeah,
I think you would look good with a big pair of double Ds, Sanjay.
100%. I'm already halfway there.
I think he's got a C cup already.
Mind you, I'm already halfway there. It's hard work.
No, that's interesting you say that, Nero, because I see a lot of, again, I'll use Botox just as a blanket term for,
injectables.
Men getting mass amounts of injectables that are shaping their jaws, their cheeks.
Yes.
I see that with these male Instagrammers. It's crazy.
And I'm not even sure that the outcome is actually that attractive in that person's favor. And I would even argue that the best injectables are the ones that are least perceptible.
Right.
So I trademarked the phrase "be noticed, not known." Be noticed for your natural appearance, or someone should go, "Wow, were you born that way? You just look stunning for your age." Not known because your lips have walked in 5 seconds before you have.
That's a great way of putting it. That is an amazing way of putting it, because like people refer to, like the girl with the big chest, or the guy with the massive cheekbones.
Wow. They're known but not understood.
Yes.
No one knows what's going on. It creates a bit of uncertainty.
Wow.
The counter argument, of course, is by those people having those interventions, they're not harming anyone. They're not taking from the public purse or doing something. So actually, if we believe in autonomy, which is the principle of being human, then it's their body and they should be allowed to do what they want if they feel that artistic execution is what drives them and makes them feel happy. Of course, the tricky thing here is making sure that the practitioner has acted ethically and has not taken advantage of someone vulnerable who's walked in through the doors.
As
commonly happens.
It's a very tricky field, man. I definitely feel you there. That last statement really made sense.
I completely agree with that.
Solidified it completely.
Body autonomy. It's
You just have to sometimes let it go.
It's completely our choice.
Look, I'm learning that. Now, I wanted to ask one question, right? Because it is a upper end market. We're talking about pressure, and I'm going to be real right now. I've never felt financial pressure ever, right? Until last 2 weeks, right? Financial pressure. And obviously I've started up so many businesses so quickly, and feeling financial pressure where you put, my number one rule is I don't put capital outlay. But this business, it's property based, so I'm making investments, but there is a large capital outlay for a good reason, right? Because property is another side of my game. And for the first time, I felt financial pressure. It's fine. We're just waiting on wheels to start up pretty much. So it takes time, for like plans to be ready and et cetera in the government. Have you felt either both ways, people coming in with financial pressure and they're acting or lashing out, or vice versa? Because I know it's a really expensive model to run, right? The surgeries, the equipment, the staff. Mate, it's a different industry compared to what we do.
Yeah.
Have you felt or been felt, or touched or experienced others' financial pressure?
Absolutely. I think let me answer that question. From my own perspective, when you launch something seminal, which is what Ignite MediSpa is, it's the world's first MediSpa with dental inside a hospital.
Yes.
There is going to be financial outlay that's significant.
Yes.
There's going to be ongoing costs.
Yes.
And of course the timing as well. First there were the bushfires.
Yeah. And then, can I tell you why I'm saying this?
Yeah.
Because people think, and I'm being real, people think surgeons make a shitload of money, their life's so great, but no one sees the balls that you need to operate at that level.
Especially if you have a business.
And I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of doctors that have come through and they just stop at that general, because they know if they go any further, they have to run themselves, they have to regulate themselves, they have to start outlaying money, and they're scared. Think about the percentage. think about the percentage out of doctors and how many actually do something.
It's the
Very small.
It's the same with all medical practitioners.
Yes.
You learn your skill quite well over a
Yes.
long period of time through university,
Yes.
but you don't learn much business.
No way.
And that makes a huge difference. You know, I did an MBA.
Yeah.
Whilst I don't feel that particularly helped me with my business endeavors,
Dude,
it
yeah.
certainly gave me a lot of familiarity.
Sure.
But running a business is very different from being an employee where you turn up.
100%.
And, you know, your skin's not... You've got skin in the game, of course, but it's not to the same extent.
No.
Yes.
And that is what
Your balls aren't on the line.
Absolutely.
And not even from an ethical point of view, just to survive.
Just to survive.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
responsibility is just that what lower, so you don't feel the pressure. I think skin in the game is the best way
Do you want
describe it.
me to flip your mind? I'm going to flip everyone's mind. Now think about this. The guys that start up their own business, they may actually turn superficial because of pressure, right? They're like, I need to operate on everyone right now because, dude, we're struggling and I'm running a business here. And that's how some guys can get mixed up in the industry, right?
Yes.
Any medical industry, guys can get mixed up bad, right? And it's just because of pressure. So, you know, I think it's commendable that anyone that's out there, you know, I love speaking to people. I love connecting with people that run businesses that push themselves because we can handle a different type of pressure and maintain sanity, but also direction. Very hard to do, and a lot of people don't take it on.
But I think it's also important to recognize that it may not go as one has planned or hoped
Correct.
for. And in life, we don't always get what we want or what we deserve.
And my main saying is go with the flow.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, very good to go with the flow. I strongly believe that it's whatever happens is my destiny, right? I strongly believe it. I'm like, oh my God, now I'm here. Or last week I experienced it. I'm like, wow, this feels different. And all I commented, and I kept saying it, I'm like, this feels different. And it's kind of good. Like, I was like, wow, I actually experienced that, you know? Like those thoughts, these type of thoughts have never gone through my mind ever, right? Because it goes against my grain and I jumped out of my comfort zone, right? And in a good way. Like you know, assets are really important, and I'm making some good moves based on strong assets. So, you know, understanding that and going, hey, just go with the flow. It's cool. It's just that mind game that you're always playing. And
you know what? When it comes to Judgment Day and you're on your dying bed or deathbed, will you look back and go, I had the aptitude, I had the opportunity, but I didn't push myself.
Yeah.
So I think it's one thing not having the opportunity or the ability, but if you have both, and you don't perhaps take that gamble, they say fortune favours the brave, and I think you subscribe to that. I'm sure, George, from speaking with you, that's something that you totally resonate with as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's something a lot of people do regret. But equally, remember, as I said at the start, you take with one hand, you give up with another. And not everyone's able to make that jump or that sacrifice for whatever reason. They may have children, they may have health burdens and so on. So again, it's always nice to be able to look at those who are inspirational, aspirational, I suppose, as well. But also perhaps not to dismiss someone who may not have done as well, because we just don't know what's been going on in their life.
You just flipped my mind because you said take with one and give with one. Mate, the people that aren't even going to take a jump, they're not ever ready to give. They're always like me. And if something ever costs them something, whether it's being nice to someone, working with other people, understanding that they have to put themselves under pressure, right? And they're not making themselves feel comfortable or good. They're like, that's the wrong move. They're conditioned to going, hey, it's the wrong move. This one makes me feel shit. That's how people get in their mind. 98% of people feel like that. If something doesn't make them feel good, they're not going to go anywhere near it, and they don't even know why, right? If you want to go somewhere, you have to walk against what your mind or your brain or what that feeling is, right? And understand what's right for you. And that's the difference.
I think if you don't follow through with that sort of stuff, you're somewhat doing yourself a disservice to your true potential. I think if you've got that capacity, you've got that innate capacity within you, like you said, getting to your deathbed and having regret, you've done yourself a disservice.
What do you mean by disservice? Look, I love the word. I've heard it by many successful people, and they're like, you're doing a disservice, or you're not doing it, you know, or that you're discrediting yourself. What do you mean by that?
Well,
Like,
let's look at what it means to service someone, to be of service or serving others. That's
so you're disserving yourself?
Yeah, you're disserving yourself if you're not following through with your true potential or your capacity or your ability to do things.
Because you're so much greater than you think.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not allowing that to actually come into fruition because it's always a choice. We spoke about mindset.
Yes.
Like whether you are to fulfill these things or aspire to these things, it's a choice.
Yeah.
You're choosing to either go down this route or route. I keep saying route, or this route.
Yeah.
It's a mindset shift as well.
Yeah.
So
I think Disservice is really cool. Right?
Yes.
And I want to ask you a question. I want to ask all of us a question, actually. By you sitting here right now, do you think right now to this age we all are, do you think you've lived to your absolute full potential?
No, of course I haven't.
100%.
None of us have.
No.
Yeah.
Because you can always achieve something.
I agree.
And you can always give something to the world. And we've got many, many years where we can do that. And perhaps one could even suggest that the last 2 years, we've all been somewhat squashed and limited by the environment in which we're in. Yeah. And hopefully as that changes and things become less onerous in terms of restrictions, perhaps we can achieve a lot more.
Look, and I want to add this though as well. See, for me, the last years have been the most amazing years of my life.
I want to agree with you, Sanjay, on that because I've used this time really well. Because I knew people were taking their foot off the gas during this time.
I saw it like
they're using environmental factors as the reason why they're not doing anything. I knew people backing off. I was like, this is my time to attack.
Do you know what I was like?
I'm going to jump at this opportunity because everyone's like, oh, I can't go to the gym, so I'm not doing any exercise. I'm not starting my new business because this. I started my medical device business end of 2019, right before COVID hit. As soon as COVID hit, no sporting teams were purchasing. Medical budgets were slashed. We just bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory of all this stuff that I thought, I'm going to sell all of this and be a millionaire in a year. Crickets. Absolute crickets. And it's not until, this Sunday that I fly out to the States to actually start selling over there. It's been 3 years in the making, but I've had 3 years of building connections in the States, building rapport, getting the brand out there, getting my name out there, the company. I've utilized this time really well because now when I go to the States, people know who I am. The teams understand where I am, where I'm coming from. We've organized all these trials. So I've really tried to utilize this.
On that time.
Yeah, because I knew everyone else wasn't. And I knew if I didn't, I took my foot off the brakes or off the accelerator.
Yeah.
At the back end of this, I would have only been playing catch up again.
You could always be driving yourself, but that may also be where you were in terms of other responsibilities, your age, and what you were doing. I equally know of some people where businesses have gone massively wrong. And they've been under so much financial stress, just trying to tread water to stay alive has also been,
Do you think they could have planned better, man? Do you think?
I don't know. I think for some circumstances, some circumstances have been pretty. I had a couple of friends that lost businesses. A friend that lost a gym, and it was purely at that point where he was on a tether.
I want to ask a question. It resets everything where you are in life.
I want to ask a question. Do you think you could think ahead and go, what's more guaranteed? Have diversity in your operation. Whether you're in a gym and you set up an online model, which was always operating as well, just in case X happened. Or do you offer a subscription service which is tailored to them that they can do at home as well, like a home program or flexibility program? There's so many avenues, right?
Hey, let me interrupt you and say maybe while we're talking about adapting, maybe a reason why they didn't.
Because they struggled.
They didn't grow during that was when hit with adversity, they weren't able to adapt. So maybe we've had it too easy for too long.
It just shows.
We've been on cruise control for so long.
Yeah.
You have to be real, right? I would love everyone to be real in this situation. It actually shows, right, the type of character that they currently are, right? And sometimes ego can get in the way. It's good to go with the flow, right? For me, if something happened and I got some news, I was like, okay, what's the next opportunity out of this? I'm like, what's the next big thing? That's how I think. If the borders got shut down, or they're like, you have to stay inside your home, I was like, what's going to be the next big thing? I was so excited, right? And it literally comes down to your mindset. I'm like, I cannot argue this more. And also how you can guarantee your future, right? I'm always planning. George, I am always planning, and you know this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like multiple strategies, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, right? It filters down through so many levels. I'm like, let's get on with it. Like, that's how excited I get, you know? So I think it does come down to the mind, and it does come down to forward thinking, and believing in what you really want to do, you know, not get worried.
Okay, but
See,
yours was elective surgeries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was absolutely canned. So how do you, as a cosmetic surgeon, make your money through procedures?
We still grew month on month since launch. And I think it's, you know, what one's able to offer in their repertoire. And of course, as Sanjay said, if you've got so many different offerings, you can certainly push the ones that are more likely to work despite the constraints. But perhaps this is a reflection of my age, and perhaps I'm becoming softer and more forgiving now that I'm in my 40s. But I don't think what Sanjay said applies to everyone, because if, for example, somebody has major responsibility, say 2 or 3 children and a mortgage, and they're already...
Shouldn't have had a mortgage, by the way. Then shouldn't have had a mortgage. Then you won't have to think about that.
But I think that's easier said than done.
But if we educate ourselves on finances, shouldn't have a mortgage. I'm never going to have a mortgage. Like, literally.
Not everyone's going to be in your blessed shoes as well. Some people...
Even from the start, though. Say, for example, if you're buying your first property, you buy it to rent. You buy it as an investment.
But some of the education that's trickled down to these families is generational. Go to school, go to uni, get a job. Yeah. And other than, like, trying to educate the masses... That's a hard
Nero,
thing to change.
I said this. Doesn't matter what's going on around in the world. Where you are right now is a reflection of your mind. Right? I'm a strong believer of this. Where you are right now, it's no accident. Right? Things just don't happen to people. Right? It is a consistent reflection. We are constantly making choices, decisions on how we want to act and feel. 1,000 times per day, which slowly forms our life. Imagine the shit.
I would have said that in my 20s as well. And in fact, I used to be that way and less forgiving.
Yeah.
But I think with a greater understanding about the world and people and so on, and like I said, perhaps a reflection of mellowing with age.
Yeah.
I think I'm not so black and white anymore.
Okay.
I think there are so many variables.
Yeah.
It's truly the definition of multiple shades of grey. That's exactly what this is. But that's also why the world has winners and losers, and why sometimes if you can grab an opportunity when there's a downturn, if you can go against the crowds, you might win.
Yeah.
But again, that depends on where we are. If we've got, and I would argue perhaps it even starts at a young age. If you've got loving parents that can discipline you, guide you, but also help you to grow and be yourself, you're going to be in the right mindset. You're going to have an education behind you. And whilst an education does not equal success in life, and whilst IQ and EQ are both important for success in life, if you've got enrichment from a young age, you're going to do statistically better than someone who doesn't.
So cool. Yes. And that forms your mind, though, right? Like
hugely. That affects the mindset. But it's also, if you've got money backing you as well, generational money, as George said, that makes that journey easier when there are uncertainties. And generally, if you've got parents who are also willing to give it, can help you through a tough time. You can invest when perhaps others can't invest. And so on.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, maybe this is just the words of a guy in his mid-40s versus guys in their 20s. Thinking back, I do remember in hospital when during heavy on-calls of plastic and reconstructive surgery, and I was in one of the busiest units in London, when some of the guys were late or were not perhaps pulling their weight. Looking back, I remember what someone told me. They said, a job ultimately becomes a means to an end. Moreover, they told me, and this is someone who was in their mid-40s at the time, who had just become a consultant surgeon. He said, we don't know what's happening in their life. And he didn't actually jump to reprimand that person. He tried to understand why there was a consistent issue. I think a little bit of warmth and forgiveness as well in life is what makes us human.
For sure. And forgiveness is a big one. I've been researching and understanding forgiveness in a big way, in all honesty, and what it can actually do for ourselves as our true selves, right? And how it can actually make you feel. It comes from a monk mindset, forgiveness, and having forgiveness and being softer, you know. So like for me and for you and for all of you guys, I want to ask one question, right? A really cool question. If you could be something entirely different, right, to what you do or who you are right now, what would it be, and in what era would it be? Go, Nero.
My answer unequivocally would be something in the legal profession. I see injustice all the time.
Interesting.
I think, and I see failure and injustice in the medical sector as well.
Yeah.
With the regulatory body either missing things that they should have done, or perhaps wrongly reprimanding and punishing people as well without an adequate understanding.
Yeah.
And I think those who are perhaps judges and so on, and of course there's always corruption and there's failure and there are multiple confounding factors, but I think that's something that I'd like to do, because I'm driven by doing the right thing in inverted commas, or at least an understanding thing, and that's something that would probably make me happier actually doing
Interesting. George?
Do you know what's funny? I was thinking about that for a second, and I have to say I would be doing, let's just say not podiatry, but I would be doing something to do with sports rehabilitation at a larger scale.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got a good size company here, but I would like to be able to do it either for the masses or for the top sporting teams in the world. And that's obviously why I started my medical device company, supplying sports rehabilitation equipment to professional sporting organizations, because I've had this passion for sport. I was never amazing at any sport. I did every sport, but I was never amazing at any of them. But I've been inundated with the thoughts of helping people win in sports. Because I get such a fulfillment from when I partake in it, and I know obviously when injuries, it affects you in your brain or in your head, in your mind, more than it does physically most of the time, because I know how passionate these people are about that, and if I can accelerate that process to get them back to doing what they love faster, I'd be a happy man. I would do that every day without getting paid for the rest of my life.
Brilliant.
Like, you know what mine is?
I was going to ask you actually.
Mine is, I'm going to start with era. I'm not even worried about right now. I would love to be in the future. Like, I'm saying 40 years, 50 years, where limitations right now are non-existent.
That scares me.
where we could be in other side of the globe, or we can travel up as high as we want, right? And on top of that, so I'd love to be in that era where that's eliminated, and then also be able to exert or extrovert or just express myself in a positive way, right? Like in a cool way, you know, just be you.
But you do that all the time, I think.
I know. Yeah. I think at a larger scale. I just love being me.
And I can't wait to see him doing that in 40 years' time when he's, 67, doing the exact same thing, doing Instagram stories, like throwing punches, getting pumped up.
I just love to be me. Like that's like, and I love to love that, if that makes sense. That's what makes me the happiest, you know. Like,
would you have given this answer 15 years ago? So, for example, if you had asked me 15 years ago,
for sure,
I probably would have said a car designer.
Nah, dude, I was so into myself when I was so young.
Yeah.
I was so into myself, right? People be like, what's up that guy's ass? All he does is look at himself in the mirror. Like, he's always looking at himself. I used to love myself so much. Dude, this is how much I used to love myself. I was in year one. I was 6. And my mum used to give us canteen money. I didn't go to the canteen, dude.
You bought protein powder.
No way. I was not allowed outside of the gates of primary school. I used to go outside the gates, jump the fence. I was so bad because I was running the streets. I'd run down to the corner store and I'd buy hair gel. And I was not allowed to put hair gel on. My mum would say, you're not allowed to put hair gel on. I would go, I'd have this hair gel sitting at the bottom of my bag every day, and when I ran low, I'd have to go run again.
Yeah.
And when I got to school, I would go to the bubbler. It was like those silver bubblers that you'd go to where those big toilets are. The trough, right? Where you walk down, there's all bubblers. I'd wet my hair, let it dry, spike my hair up for the day. I'm like, whoa, I feel freaking good.
Wow.
It was so funny that at the end of the day, before I had to run to catch the bus,
You had to
You'd
wash
have
it
to
out.
wash your hair.
I had to go to the bathroom and wash my hair out. That's how much I love myself.
Do you know Nero? Do you know?
I was going to say,
crazy.
does that count? Does that count as more of a rebel?
I don't know what I
Then-
was, but it used to give me so much joy.
Maybe he challenges authority and he challenges boundaries, but that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
no, it
Yeah.
just gave me so much joy looking after, like just being myself and expressing it and feeling good and taking care of myself. I used to love it, man. Like, that's me.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was
You were
going to
gonna
say,
George.
it's funny, you got all that fulfillment in being yourself and being
Yeah.
you and looking after yourself.
Yeah.
I always found more satisfaction in helping others.
Really?
Always do.
Okay,
I still
yeah.
do to this day.
That's so strange.
When
Wow.
patients come in with good results, I'm pumped. I'm fired up. I get goosebumps on my
Wow.
arms. Like, I'm just stoked for
Wow.
them. Like, I get so much more from that than any of my personal accolades.
Wow.
When I get good results and get that feedback, I don't know. That does something for me.
Yeah.
Seeing other people win.
Yeah.
I don't that is one of the most contagious, inspirational, just uplifting, invigorating, just feelings you can ever have in your life.
Yeah.
Knowing that what you did for someone else has changed their mental state.
Yes, their
Like,
mindset.
can you imagine they're walking out like talking about you,
Yes.
like, and you've just changed their whole
And you're like,
mindset
wow.
from something you've done. Like, you obviously get that every single day with, like, surely that's a good feeling. People
It's a
waking
lovely
up and just going, I just can't believe it.
But I think it's important to have the balance.
Yeah.
The yin and the yang. And
Yeah.
I think we've got almost diametrically opposed opinions here or perceptions.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I think if you can fuse them,
Yeah.
you're going to get the best
Interesting.
of both worlds.
Hey, I still love myself. I still check myself out in every car window that I walk past.
Yeah,
A little
yeah.
bit of a flex,
Little
and you
flexies,
know,
yeah.
fix the beard up. I still
Nah.
do that,
But that's my perspective. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
like that's ideally what I love to do. But and remember, reduce limitations. That's all what I'm about. Like, I don't want limitations, right? I want to explore and expand and see the world and move quickly and do more. Like, I think that's so exciting. And it might be because I'm in my 20s. You might be right. Like, you might be spot on. I don't know.
You know, my sister always used to say, always shoot for the stars, because if you miss, you land on the moon.
Yeah.
Love
So
that.
just,
Love
just
that.
punch heavy and hard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you will never have regret. So you know what? Kudos to you.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of attitude that drives the world and that leads to positive change.
Nice.
And
Thank
you've got to
you.
ignore the haters around you, because
Yeah.
people
Love
are
that
generally
advice.
just negative and they don't like to see others doing well.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
even if you've not hurt them in the process of you excelling,
Wow,
they don't like
that's
it.
so
So you've got
good.
to learn to have a thick skin and go, it is what it is. That's humanity and human
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
I'm going to be me, just
Yeah.
as you've done.
And you can even get that. Like, this is just an example. I've seen it. You know, you can even get that from your own family,
Yeah.
right?
Of
Well, you're not even
course.
hurting them. You're not even hurting them, and someone might say something to you, and it's like, why? Like, what was it? Like,
Yeah.
cool. Like, okay, you know,
My family have learned to understand the boundaries. I've drawn a line in the sand with
Yeah.
sort of that sort of feed. They know that I'm not being rude. It just is.
Yeah.
and this could be
With
your love, by the way.
communication,
This could be your
for
own
the
love.
way I talk.
Yeah.
They just know George has a lot going on.
Yeah.
This isn't him. This isn't a personal thing. It just is.
Yeah,
Like, but I said that. Yeah, I think you have to make sure you set boundaries with people like that, because it's especially family, because they see you in a completely different light to your
Yeah.
colleagues. So
Yeah.
I think having boundaries is huge.
but look, it could be your loved ones as well. Like, it
Yeah.
could be anyone. It could
Yeah.
be cousins. It could be work colleagues. Whatever it may be.
of course, yeah.
But it's
But it's
so important.
arguably more disappointing when it comes from a loved one or a
100.
family.
It's more
Yeah,
emotional.
yeah.
And that's when it can actually impact you, because it hits that emotional chord. Guys, I want to say thank you so much.
Yep.
That was sick.
Been
You know.
pretty deep.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it, dude.
That went every which way.
Went like up, down, sideways. Not bad. I like it,
that
man.
was
Thanks
fun.
for-
It's
thanks
been
for
good
jumping on.
hanging out with you both.
Thank you for
George
coming
and
on. I really
Sanjay.
appreciate it.
Check us out, guys. Check Nero out. You know, it's always a pleasure and always a good understanding. If you want to look at the description below, or look at our Instagram handles, let us know. You'll find it there. Check out our stories. I love just being present in the moment. So that's where it's best to connect, for sure.
And I can definitely add one thing. Sanjay and George both have a lot of energy, positivity, and good vibes. So I'm sure for those listeners who are subscribing and spending their precious time listening
It
to
is.
these guys. It's only going to be a positive thing,
Yeah.
because positivity will breed more positivity and more success, and these guys have spades of it. So well done to you both.
The best thing you
really
could do is
appreciate
just
it.
like and subscribe. It actually just shows your support, but also that it just spreads exactly that, right? It spreads that positivity. You're making a positive intention into your own life right now. Just think about that for a sec. Let's go. See you in the next one.